Hey Tim, this is Jack Dever, and I wanted to put this video together for you real quick to give you an idea of what I see in the samples that you just sent me today. Again, let's go back and look at the prototypes that we had before so you have a better understanding of what I'm talking about. If you remember, we had the sink version here first, as you can see, and so we had the sink version and we had the tub version right here. Hope you can see it just clearly enough. Now, let's take a closer look again at the sink version. Here's our prototype. And mind you, this prototype is not the finished product, as you know, because there is no epoxy coating on the wire tip ends there. And this wire is galvanized steel and not stainless steel as you're going to produce for us. But take a quick closer look at how the brush is made. You can see, hopefully I'm conveying this to you, that the brush is crimped nylon, which has been in our specs all along, and it looks fuller. Now, let me show you the one that you sent me in black. Okay, let the camera focus in. Takes a little while to focus in, I apologize. But as you can see by this, hopefully you can see, it looks a little blurry to me, but hopefully you'll be able to see that the brush that you sent me here is straight and level, as they call it in the industry, nylon. It is not crimped. Crimped, you would see more of a fuller brush, I guess, pattern. It's the brushes, meaning when they're crimped, they tend to fan out more. Yours is level. So when you have a level nylon in there, fill, it's allowing gaps of debris to get through the brush. As you can see here, large gaps. And when it's crimped, they fan out to catch most material. So that has to be corrected. While I have this here, you can see that it's made much better. I have to say, it's perfectly round, or pretty darn close. But as you can also see that there is a large gap where the two wire ends meet. Number one, it doesn't look like it was made so that the wires, two ends come closer together, and the epoxy coating that was used, it dries white, which stands out like a sore thumb. Can't do that. It has to be clear epoxy coating, and if the wire is cut on both ends, then you apply it to both ends. But if it's looped on one end and just cut on one end, just apply it to the cut end. Okay, you don't need it to do it to both ends, I don't think, at this point, but we can discuss that further. But primarily the gap here between here is too far apart, and that's repeated on all the samples that you sent me, actually. So we need to correct that. But again, we're close, and you can see that I'm nitpicking, but I'm doing it for a reason. We want to make sure it's perfectly made. So as you can see, it's kind of like off-center like that. All the samples I basically got are the same way. You need to make sure that it's closer to two wire ends or like that, not like this. It has to be like that. Okay, and the wire and we need more of the fill, the nylon fill between that opening, so you need to close the gap on that with the nylon fill, however it's made to be, however you do that. But obviously it has to fit around, you know, the stopper plug. Again, you put it on here, as you can see. This fits really nice, but I think you're just going to need to add a little length to the amount of nylon fill that you have on the brush before you make the circle, or before you cut and make the circle, however you're doing it. So let's work on that, and while we're at it, let's look at the clear version, or white, because I think you sent these smaller ones you sent me were in white, but the clear ones that you sent me are made with the larger brush, and those are actually the ones I want to show you as a comparison. See if I can show this to you. I don't know if this you can tell here, but this one here that I'm shaking, this one is exactly the color I want. Exactly. This one right here I think is made with a nylon, white nylon fill. Obviously it has to be clear or opaque. This color, not this. Okay. Getting back to this one, you can see They're not lining up perfectly. They have to come down so they're lined up. And a little bit too much of a gap here where there's no nylon fill. Now the brush that you used here is crimped nylon. The one for the black was not. It was straight, level nylon. Crimped, straight. So we got to have it crimped. As you can see, it's more of a fuller effect here, where you see more of the brush material closing the gaps where nothing will slip through the, I guess, rows, if you will. Okay? Again, this one fit nicely, as you can see, right around. Perfect. I like that. Just, again, close the gap, get more nylon fill between the gap here. Make sure that that coating you use is clear. Again, even with the white, it stands out. And maybe not as much, but we're not using white. Remember, we're using clear. So we want to be able to make sure that coating is clear. Fill the gap, make sure they line up, and you're almost there. I'm not trying to nitpick again, but I want to make sure you understand that we're almost there. And then finally, let's look at the tub versions. Here's our version. Again, you know, this is galvanized steel, and there's no coating here. But you get an idea what this looks like. And again, it pops onto the tub assembly, like so. Okay. So let's look at the ones you made or delivered. Again, when you look at this, doesn't look like crimped nylon to me. Looks like level. You can see there's too much of a gap between the rows. And you really have to make sure that is the case. So as an example, here's our version. It's more closed in. It's hard to tell here. Let's see if I can do it like that. But you can see it's more fuller. There's the gaps between the rows isn't as much. And so we need to figure that out. And here's your white version, or I'm sorry, the clear version. And you can see how fuller the brushes look. Not as much gaps between the rows. And again, look at that gap. That's not acceptable. Can't do that. And it's not aligned properly either. So you gotta line it, close the gap. All right? Gotta make sure we have more brush material in the middle where the wires meet. If you gotta cut the wire back a little bit more, make sure to tightly twist it on the end, add the coating on the cut end, you're there. But, and let's see how they fit. Here's the clear one on top of the tub version. Fits darn good. Spin it all the way around, no gaps, except where? Right there. You can see that's, once they're on there, it's going to pull the wire ends apart even more. So we got to make sure we close that gap. Again, please make sure you guys buy this stuff. The tub assembly and the pop-up assembly for the sinks. That's really how they're going to gauge this thing. And let's look at the black version that you sent me. Looks good, except for the gap. The wire ends are separating a little too much. Now, it's expected the wire ends, when they put them on the actual pop-up assembly top, the stopper plug for either this or this, the wire ends are going to separate a little bit, and that's understood. I get that. But just make sure that they don't separate that much. You can see there's just too much of a gap where things could get down the drain, and we want to eliminate that as much as possible. Okay, buddy? So that's basically it. You sent me, looks like 2 of each one. You know, I got the 2 here, 2 the tub here, 2 the tub here, and of course 2 the sink and 2 the sink. So whatever you got to do to fix that, let's do that and take care of that once and for all.